Hello and welcome to the Daily Aus. I'm Sam Koslowski.
I'm Lucy Tassell.
Beyond Meat is one of the leading plant-based meat companies in the world, but it has had a rough few years. Then, all of a sudden this week, its share price rocketed over 1,000% in 4 days, from 50 cents to nearly $8. On today's podcast, we're going to unpack what happened, the current state of Beyond Meat, and the world of meme stocks.
Before we get into all of that, Sam, can you set the scene? What is Beyond Meat?
So they make plant-based meat alternatives. So we're talking about products like the Beyond Burger, Beyond Sausage. It's fake meat made primarily from pea protein, and it's designed to taste and feel like real meat. Mm-hmm. So it's different to, say, a veggie burger with a chickpea patty. It's meant to be like eating a steak.
Yeah.
So founded in 2009, they actually put their products in the meat aisle of supermarkets instead of the freezer section with the other vegetable products. And they were the first company really to do that and have that kind of marketing approach in the world. And when they IPO'd, so when they listed on the US stock exchange in 2019, it was a pretty legendary debut.
Yeah.
So shares initially were priced at $25. Mm-hmm. By the end of the first day, they were at $66.
Yeah, wow.
By July, 1 month later, the stock hit $235. And that essentially meant that they were worth US $14 billion.
Wow.
Despite making just $300 million in revenue and never being profitable, in fact, being very far from profitable.
You mentioned up at the top, though, that their share price has dropped down to around 50 cents.
Yeah.
That's a big fall from the high $200 to the 50 cents. What happened?
Well, in short, people stopped eating plant-based meat alternatives. The entire industry really collapsed. And they have some really big deals that they've done, say, with Hungry Jack's here in Australia. You can have a Beyond Burger.
Yeah.
They had those big corporate partnerships, but in terms of people shopping in the grocery stores, they stopped buying the product.
Right.
And it has kept going down since about 2021. So just last year, US sales fell 7.5%. The number of households buying these products dropped from 19% in 2022, so 1 in 5, to 13% in 2024.
Right.
And the biggest problem really is price.
Yeah.
So plant-based meat costs 80% more per kilo than regular meat. And in the period towards the end of the pandemic and the couple of years after that, inflation and cost of living were the big talking points. People weren't willing to pay almost double the price of real meat to have replacement meat. And if they were vegetarian, they would pick plant-based alternatives like veggie patties rather than products designed to look and feel like meat. And so Beyond Meat's revenue collapsed 30% from its 2021 peak.
Wow.
Now, to this day, they've never made a profit.
Yeah.
They're still losing $30 million every 3 months. Revenue is going to fall another 13% this current quarter, and they've cut 30% of their workforce since 2022.
Which I guess makes the developments of this week genuinely quite bizarre, and the share price just shooting up so much to the highest it's ever been. Can you talk me through what happened there?
So let's go back a week. It is trading at 50 cents a stock.
Yeah.
So we talked before about the $235 high.
Yeah.
Now it's 50 cents. 6 days later, it hit nearly $8.
Yeah.
That's 1,400% in 4 days.
Yeah, wow.
But when you go into a bit more of the types of shares that were being traded, the behavior of share traders, there's a few interesting trends here. So on Thursday, October 17th, the stock jumped 50% in 1 day. Now, on a normal day of trading on the stock market for the company, about 13 million shares change hands, go from you to me to you. That day, on Thursday, 438 million shares were moved around.
Wow.
Then we get to Monday of this week. A big financial company called Roundhill Investments, they added Beyond Meat to their meme stock ETF. Now, just quickly, an ETF is basically a basket of stocks that they compile. You and I can buy shares in that basket. By being included in the basket, the stock went up another 100%. But then we get to Tuesday, and that was really where things kicked off.
Yeah.
Beyond Meat announced an expansion to 2,000 Walmart stores. The stock went up another 150%. 2 billion shares changed hands. And then on Wednesday, absolute chaos.
Yeah.
The stock opened at $6, it went up to $7.69, and it ended the day at $3.50. So if you invested $5,000 at lunchtime, you had $2,500 by the end of the day. That's a lot of movement for a small, relatively small stock. And so the question started to come of, why is this all happening?
So you explained what an ETF is, but you didn't explain what a meme stock is.
Yeah.
Can you explain what that means?
So it's basically a stock that goes viral on social media.
Yeah.
Just like an internet meme, except with real money at stake.
Okay.
The price of a meme stock going up and down has nothing to do with the performance of the company.
Yeah.
It's really driven by online hype, and that's usually on Reddit. So GameStop in 2021 is a classic example. A struggling video game retailer, people weren't buying games in person at the shops anymore. It went from $17 to $483 in a couple of weeks, and that was thanks to a coordinated effort that all was born out of a Reddit forum called Wall Street Bets.
Yeah.
Now, with Beyond Meat, Reddit users started to chat just last week about how stocks in Beyond Meat were being shorted, and began to joke about how fun it would be to make the stock price shoot up in value in what's called a short squeeze. Now, one of the meme parts of this is the code used for the company.
Yeah.
It's Beyond, BYND.
Yeah.
So people were joking that they could make the stock go to infinity and beyond.
Oh, like Buzz Lightyear. Yeah.
Exactly.
But then you touched on something called a short squeeze.
Yeah.
Can you explain what that means?
Hello, Billy here from TDA. We have just looked at our YouTube analytics and 95% of you who are watching our videos aren't subscribing. If you want to help independent media like us grow, the best way you can do that is by pressing subscribe. Thank you so much, and back to the video.
This is a tough one to explain. Often in times movies will use, Margot Robbie in a bathtub or some other creative mechanism to explain these kind of things, but I'll give it a go.
Yeah.
So basically when hedge funds, and a hedge fund is a huge collection of other people's money that they're entrusted to invest in the right ways in the stock market.
Yeah.
If a hedge fund thinks that a company is about to fail, they can essentially bet on the price of that stock to go down, not up. And how that works is essentially you borrow shares in that stock, you sell the borrowed shares, you try and buy it back at a lower price, and you make up the gap. We don't really need to fully understand all of this.
Yeah.
What you need to understand, though, is that if it goes up, you lose a lot of money.
Yeah.
And so about 63% of Beyond Meat's shares were being shorted.
Wow.
So 63% of the company's financial holdings were people who were betting on it to go down.
Yeah.
Most stocks have about 2 to 5% of that category. And so hedge funds were basically saying this company is headed for bankruptcy.
And so all of these online traders say we're going to make the share price go up as fast as possible by buying stocks, increasing demand, essentially squeezing those hedge funds.
Exactly. And because it's the internet, we can always track at least one big turning point.
Yeah.
And that would be when a Dubai trader called Dmitry Semenikin bought 3.1 million shares at 78 cents. So remember, there was that low of 50 cents.
Yeah.
So he bought about 4% of the company.
Yeah, wow.
Essentially, to be taking part in this viral meme. He posted on YouTube in a video explaining why he did that, which is exactly what the YouTube and Reddit user Roaring Kitty did for GameStop. You might remember that from the movie about it called Dumb Money. And Reddit piled in. So Beyond Meat became the #1 trending stock on Wall Street Bets on Reddit. Posts about the stock increased 84%. Retail traders, like people on the forums, they bought $35 million on that day alone.
Wow.
That was the biggest single day in the company's history, and it really elevated the profile of the stock, and it did go to infinity and beyond temporarily.
Well, and then it crashed back down again.
Exactly.
So what is going to happen next for Beyond Meat?
Well, I think the really confusing bit about the Beyond Meat story this week and the whole nature of meme stocks is that the company's fundamentals haven't changed.
Yeah.
And just because the stock was momentarily worth a lot more and saw this 1,000% gain, it's still struggling to sell products to consumers. And if we look back at history, the other stocks that have been the subject of memes, GameStop, AMC, which is a cinema chain, Bed Bath & Beyond, they can have these moments of strength because of a meme rally, but it can still head back down to earth pretty quickly. Even since Wednesday, the stock prices come right down.
Yeah.
And so analysts say that until there's more demand for the actual product of replacement meat, Not even a meme rally can fix the hopes of this company.
Well, we will be keeping tabs on it. Now I'm completely obsessed with this story.
Yeah, it was a meaty one. It was a meaty one.
It was a fakely meaty one, absolutely. Thanks so much for explaining that, Sam, and thank you for joining us today on the Daily Aus. We'll be back this afternoon with the headlines. Until then, have a fabulous Friday.